So I am back from Azerbaijan and we are going to go right back into the tactics, and today we have got a tactic focused on shots and more shots, a tactic that averaged over 1,100 shots in a season, resulting in some pretty crazy stat lines. If you do enjoy the tactics, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let's waste no more time and let's get into it. So to actually build this tactic, we are going to be using a very unique tactical style, and that style is not going to be gegenpress, not going to be tiki-taka. It is going to be a fluid counter-attacking system, and you actually are going to go ahead and load in a where is it? Where are you at? It's hiding. A 4-2-4 DM wide. That is right. It's a unique sort of style, but trust me, the goals, they come in abundance. I will quickly show some results from the initial default tactic. Again, we have got 3 today. The first test was done with Manchester United, where we actually put on an incredible season, winning the Premier League, the Friendly Cup, the Europa League 6-0, and also the Carabao Cup. Now, actually, in that Premier League, you can see the sheer amount of players that are getting involved when it comes to the goals and also the assists. Now, going over to the stats, you can see in this season, it was 938 shots. Therefore, we have got a better season coming up very shortly, but still, just off these stats alone, we outscored Man City by over 60 goals. It was absolute dominance when it comes to the goal scoring side. You are going to concede goals with this tactic because we are so attacking, but as you can see, we still are pretty decent when it comes to even the defensive side of the game. Now, as for the data hub, it is going to be 4.11 goals per game, which is really strong for a team which, you know, you wouldn't favour over Liverpool or Man City or Arsenal on this game. These stats are a very good start. So let's go over and make this default tactic, and then we're going to go over a more attacking one, and of course one designed for a little bit more of an underdog team. Let's go over and build tactics. We have got a basic 4-2-4 preloaded in. I do want to quickly say, if you want to get access to all of these wonderful perks you're going to see on your screen, you get all tactics, PC tactics, console, mobile, early access to everything, access to this month's giveaway, which is £500, and also we'll throw in some FM25 copies. You can come over and get a ton of perks and join close to 5,000 people by joining the Patreon today. And if you like rebuilds, go over and check the channel because you get those as well. So there's absolutely tons of content coming your way, but let's go over and build this 4-2-4 today. That all rhymed. So we are going to change the mentality right off the bat to attacking. I will not say it again. I will say it one last time. You are expected to concede goals, but you will go out and outscore anyone you play because it is absolutely ridiculous. But we are going to kick things off with a goalkeeper who is simply going to be set to defend. So nice and simple to kick things off. I didn't really feel the need for a sweeper keeper because we're not really playing out from the back too much, so it's not really a necessity. Going over to the wing back on the right hand side, we are going to go and edit his instructions because he's going to have one, and that is going to be set to run wide with the ball. Very simple, but the only 2 instructions we want is get further forwards and also run wide. And to save you a little bit of time, I'm going to quickly go ahead and apply that to the left back as well because they are literally identical, so nice and simple to copy so far. Now, although we're not playing out from the back, typically playing with ball playing defenders is a little bit more attractive, and also it does help build that defence to midfield and obviously playing into the front 4. So we are going to have 2 ball playing defenders who are simply both going to be on the default. So quite a reserved back line, although the wing backs are going to go forwards. By far not the most aggressive wing backs compared to some of the systems we've played, but they are going to go forward and help contribute with assists, and who knows, maybe a cheeky goal as well. Now, the idea to the midfield. Now, we've gone pretty basic because I just want 2 players to sit in front of them and basically defend. So that is why DMs are both going to be applied on the left and the right hand side, and they are both simply going to have one instruction, and that is going to consist of them tackling harder. And the reason behind this is I want them in that midfield to be aggressive, be determined, not afraid to put a challenge in. So having them both on tackle harder is an absolute necessity. I don't need them getting forwards, and I don't also need them shooting more often in this variant. Maybe a little teaser for another tactic, but hey ho, that is going to be the midfield done. Now, the front 4 is pretty much how this tactic comes alive. That's where the shots come from, it's where the action happens. So if you can, I would advise not changing a single instruction because this works really well. So on the left hand side, we are going to go with an inside forward on attack, and yes, that is going to be exactly the same for the right hand side as well. And on these players, I've gone with shoot more often and also sit narrow. Not roam from position, simply those instructions, nice and simple. On the right is going to be exactly the same as on the left as well. So sit narrow and shoot more often. Now, I will say, if you're playing with a team that haven't got great finishers out wide, maybe this is not the system for you. But if you have anything sort of over 12, 13 finishing, if you've got those on the flanks and you've got good strikers, you're going to score easily 4 goals a game, and you'll see very shortly, we even approach 5+ goals a game. So the tactic absolutely cooks if you've got the right players. We are also going to go ahead and add in a poacher on the right-hand side of the pitch, and we're going to add 2 instructions, roam from position and also shoot more often, alongside of an advanced forward who again is going to share those same instructions, roam and shoot more often. Now the great thing about having roam on these front 2 players is they sort of interlock and intertwine with the inside forwards, taking up different positions. All 4 players are going to be having shots, so at the end of the day it makes sense to play this way. This tactic is a ton of fun to play with. Now let's go over and do the team instructions. So again, all built off that fluid counter-attack on the attacking mentality, we're actually going to keep the width 2 fairly wide, so a nice simple start. A lot of action is done down the left and the right hand side, so we are simply going to tick both of those to be selected. When it comes to the dribbling, it is quite direct, so run at defence and also be more expressive are going to be deployed, alongside of mixed crosses. The tempo, it is aggressive, so a higher tempo, and the passing is set to shorter. Now, one thing you potentially could tweak if you want to is you could also add pass into space. For me, I was a little bit wasteful in possession when I had this on, so that's why I've not got it on. But if you want to test it back home, go ahead and let me know. Maybe it works better, but for me, I would stick to what we say on the screen. In transition, we are going to go over and hit counter press, counter, distribute quickly, and simply take short goal kicks. So again, no pressure to only play it to the centre backs. We can go to the flanks, to the playmakers, or to the back line if needed. Keep your options open. And lastly, out of possession, we are going to deploy the high pressing line of engagement, a higher defensive line, a maxed out trigger press, and also get stuck in when it comes to the tackling. And that's going to complete a default tactic for you, but now we're going to go to a tactic that scored over 5 goals a game. When we make an attacking tactic, it traditionally is a powerhouse team, and I know Celtic are very, very strong, but if you're playing as any sort of top 4 team classed as a powerhouse, you will get very similar results. And as for the league, we absolutely stormed everyone. Perfect 30 out of 38. Again, I know we are Celtic, and I can already see the comments coming, but it is tested and designed for powerhouses. Now, the stats, 1,112, 210 goals, fewest shots against, most possession, fewest conceded, and the most clean sheets. A perfect 3 points per game, and the data hub gets crazy. 5.53 goals per game, and that, I don't even need to use any more words. It's absolutely ridiculous. So lift the Champions League, so I guess that's something. Alongside of the Scottish Cup and the Viaplay Cup. That was a pretty good season, right? So this is going to be the tactic that got those results, and as you can see, it looks very, very similar, and to be honest with you, the player roles are, so I'm going to scan over them, not waste more time than what we have to today, because I know your time's valuable, so let's go over and stop waffling. So the goalkeeper does remain the same, the wing-back on the right and on the left also remain the same, as does both of the ball-playing defenders. The right-hand side of the DM in midfield remains the same. The left-hand side is now going to be aggressive and push forwards. So get further forwards, shoot more, and also tackle harder. So again, make sure you've got a DM that can play that role. If you have not got a DM that sort of has got good shooting as well, you could maybe have a Volante on attack, a Volante on support, any role where you can make them a little bit more aggressive compared to the right-hand side. When it comes to the inside forwards on the left, and also on the right, both on shoot more often, roam, and also sit narrow, as the poacher and the advanced forward does remain exactly the same, but to the team instructions where it all changes. Again, it is still going to be that fluid counter, still on attacking, but the first real big change is the addition of overlapping right and overlapping left. We still are going to focus down the left and the right hand side, but just making these overlapping runs is absolutely crucial. Now, the reason why we did have more shots on target, or shots overall should I say, sorry, is actually applying shoot on sight. Now, I will say, for those of you that like to be patient in your build-up play, this would be your worst nightmare, because players are going to pick up the ball, cut inside and have a crack at goal, but of course this is a tactic dedicated to taking shots and taking risks. So that is why we had more shots on sight, so make sure you've got that selected. We are also going to run at defence, and of course be more expressive, as the tempo and the passing actually remain completely unchanged. So again, the real big change, the overlap and runs, and also shooting on sight. In transition, we are simply going to opt for counter press, counter, take short goal kicks, and since we are now more attacking, we are going to distribute quickly. And when it comes to out of possession, we are going to deploy the much higher defensive line with the high pressing line of engagement much more often when it comes to the trigger press, and lastly, get stuck in. Now, for those of you back home that might be thinking, Josh, I don't play as a top 6 team. I don't play as a powerhouse team. Give me an underdog result, please. I've got you covered. Let's go over and do that. That's where Sunderland come in. Not the best team in the Championship by quite some distance, and we've come out and put on quite a good show, winning the Sky Bet Championship and the Friendly Cup as well, with players appearing to absolutely thrive in this system. We know how good Jack Clark is, of course now an Ipswich player, I believe. Don't know why he's not been transferred on the database, but we'll take him for the results, I guess. An absolute baller. And as you can see in the stats, highest goals, 137, 971 shots, as not a powerhouse in the relative league. A really good set of stats, and the data hub again, just shy of 3 goals a game, 0.85 conceded, but we are having the shots. 21 shots a game with a team like Sunderland. That's absolutely incredible. So now let's go over and look at the defensive / underdog tactic you can use it for either thing, to defend a game out or purely to play with a slightly smaller team. It's going to look a little bit like this. So as you can see, it is going to be a little bit different. You're probably already seeing the supportive roles instead of attacking when it comes to the inside forward. The goalkeepers and both of the ball playing defenders are going to be exactly the same. The wing back on the right and on the left also do remain unchanged, with both of the DMs going back to the default version, simply both on support, both on tackle harder. Now when it comes to the left hand side and the right hand side with the inside forwards, on the left, simply sit narrow, on the right, simply sit narrow. So just a little change there, not being completely all guns blazing, not taking shots as well. And this was because when you play as a smaller team, you've got to be sensible. You've got to be sensible in possession, and you don't want every single player having more shots. So maybe that's why we didn't have as many shots as obviously what we did with Celtic, but you have got to be a little bit more reserved when you're playing as a smaller team and be somewhat sensible. We still do have the poacher exactly the same and the advanced forward, just changing a little bit by not shooting more often. But we've got one player in here who is going to constantly be taking shots, but because we are playing as a smaller team, you've got to sort of keep the ball as much as you can and be a little bit more sensible. Team instructions, it still is going to be a fluid counter, this time set to positive, and it is going to change a little bit. So this time we are going to play out from the back. We're a lot more calm on the ball now, not as direct, not as rushed. We're still going to focus down the right and the left-hand side of the field, still on mixed crosses. This time, this is all going to remain exactly the same. So, or not the same, actually blank. So completely defaulted. We don't really run at defense. We don't really need to be more expressive. It's definitely more of a control and base tactic, this defensive one, that still can pack a punch, but is not going to score as many goals as the previous two. When it comes to the passing, we're going to go down to shorter, which of course will bring that tempo down to standard, and that is going to be your in possession tab. In transition, we're going to counter press and still counter. I still want players running forward, but just not being running forward and shoot. Run forward, get in a good position, wait for a good pass, and then when it lands to the poacher, he can shoot when he wants to. We're going to distribute quickly still, because I don't want to be stagnant and just, be really negative, because this tactic has taken a bit of a hit when it comes to those inside forwards not being all guns blazing. So I still want to make sure we are a team that can go out and still catch teams off guard. So that's why that remains. And we are going to play to anyone across the back line while taking short goal kicks. And lastly, out of possession, we're going to maintain with that standard line, the high pressing line of engagement. A maxed out trigger press is still going to be a thing, and we are going to get stuck in to finish it off. And that is going to give you boys and girls back home not one, not two, but 3 variants of this tactic. Again, you can go and get all of these perks over on the Patreon, where we're constantly putting out content. If you like Football Manager, it's pretty much your heaven, because we have got constant content coming your way. You get all of the rebuild files, which are going to start increasing in quantity as well. There's going to be so much content before FM25, so be sure to come over and say hello. You can also win some pretty big giveaways, and let me know what you think of the tactic, boys and girls, because honestly, I've had a ton of fun playing this way of football. Playing tiki-taka and all of this it's nice, but it gets a little bit boring, so to switch it up is quite fun. And as always, leave a team you want to see tested with and any wild tactics you want to see. We're slightly at the end of the year now, aren't we, in terms of Football Manager, so I'm trying to bring some fun. So be sure to comment any experiments, whatever you want to see, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.